Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Mindful Monday. So, as we are filming this, it is Monday morning. It is May the 27th, 2024, and we're filming this in the morning. And you might be watching the recording live streamed into the group because we edit it and stream it so you can find it easily. We'll start with a centering, as ever, for the benefit of me as well as the people attending. So, as usual with centering, you don't have to close your eyes. You can keep them open, but if you prefer to, you can. And we follow a pattern at the moment of ABC. So A is awareness. Notice the space that you're in. Have a look round and see if you can spot something you don't normally look at. No need to get into the story, but perhaps notice shapes or textures that you can see. Notice what you can hear. Sounds that are there the whole time, but we tune them out. Notice what you can smell, taste, and then notice what you can feel. So awareness of your feet on the ground, your body on a chair, bed, anything. Notice how you feel, how you are on the inside. How am I doing me in this moment? Being me. Notice the breath and its natural rhythm. And then B is balance. So have a little rock, back and forth, side to side, up and down, shimmy and a wiggle, and settle into that sweet spot of least effort and most support. You might bring some balance to the breath. You probably already shifted it by noticing it. And then C is core, softness through the core. So see if you can bring some softness through the forehead, the eyes, the cheeks, the jaw, chest, belly. Maybe adding an audible exhale. Second C, connection. Bring to mind someone that makes you smile. It might be a pet, a person. It might be looking at the people on the screen if you're in the Zoom room. And notice that moment where a smile initiates a smile or responds to a smile and the spread of it through your body. And then let that go. We're going to have a check-in. And I've got a word, but I will abandon that word if there is an emotion or a thing, an emotion or a way of being that comes up in the Zoom room check-in. If there is, we'll go with that, or I will give them the choice and I'll come back to you and let you know what it is. I'll just pause. So words that came out. Excitement and anxiety. Anger, frustration, there's 3 frustrations came out in that Zoom room. The word grief wasn't mentioned. Oh, there was 4 frustrations. There was happiness and joyfulness, so that's good. There was a bit of that in there, but there was crossness as well. So there was a strong sense of cross, angry, and frustrated. Now, my sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, in Thursday's Befriending Me, now quite a few of you were there, not everybody was there, but in Thursday's Befriending Me, we were talking about nervous system regulation, and we were talking about state, and we were talking about story. And I feel that a lot of the anger and frustration is linked with story. And even when the weather rains on the washing, it's not actually about the rain on the washing, it's about the lack of energy and the extreme fatigue required to go and get the wet washing, the amount of energy used to put the washing out, the amount of energy needed to bring the washing back in, to decide what to do with it, whether to hang it up, wash it again. Is it dirty rain? Is it clean rain? Is it nice smelling rain? Is it not nice smelling rain? And the effort required to do that comes back to the frustration and the story of, I have not got the spoons for this. And there was a phrase, how hard it has become. And I can't rest. I can't hide. And so there is a thread running through all of that. And if we go back to the state, the mixture of states, there was a little bit of what we call ventral vagal in that safe and connected. That was the joyful bit and the happy bit. But there was a good spoonful of sympathetic activation of the stomping. Stomp, stomp, stomp. It's funny, there's some laughter in the Zoom room, but if you actually feel into your stomping, it does become quite comical, because we can laugh at ourselves in this. But there was also quite a bit of that dorsal vagal, of the extreme heavy weight of overwhelming fatigue, whether it's thrown into, well, it does throw into freeze, even if that freeze is under a blanket. And that's literally being played out in the Zoom room, literally lying under a black blanket, trying to hide. I see you. So the combination of these things, and the word that I picked out actually does relate to all of this. The word was dispassion. And what is dispassion? When I looked at this and I thought, oh, I'll see what Google says about the word dispassion, because I have some preconceived ideas about the word dispassion that don't quite fit with what's in the book, because we bring our own story with words as well, don't we? And Google was like, is dispassion, because it says, what else should I ask about this? Is dispassion good or bad? Dispassion free from or unaffected by passion. They say that sounds bad. Devoid of feeling, that sounds bad. Or bias, that sounds good. Impartial, that sounds good. Calm. So dispassion isn't all bad, suggests freedom from the influence of strong feelings. Now, when something happens that highlights our difficulties, we are not free from the free. We don't have the freedom of being separated from the strong feelings, because the story is there shouting at us. And so it brings us, well, what does it bring you? You know that each of those situations, when something happens that causes frustration and the anger is there, and the stomp, you don't actually have to physically be moving to feel into the stomp, but what does that level of frustration cross? That was the other word. I like the word cross, because it's like a sweet word, but actually it's not. It's grumpy, isn't it? It's grumpy. Cross, frustrated and angry and stomping. What does that look like? What does that feel like in your body? Do it, try it. For me, there's a harumph that goes along with it. There's a real, right then I'm not going to do that. There's a real, there's some smiling faces. It's almost like we can be our own worst enemy if we get too deep into a harumph. I don't know if that's a real word, harumph, but I think it's a good one. Right, well, I'm not going to do it then. Right then. Right, I'll just leave it then. Doesn't matter. Forget it. Forget it. Forget it. Right? So, what can we do about that? Can we just throw some glitter on it and be happy again? No, we can't. We have to let ourselves feel into the harumph. I'm not suggesting we throw things around and smash them around, but I give you permission to harumph. Oh. I was I was amazed when the Zoom went down on Thursday and we were recording Befriending Me. And because I had it parallel running on my phone at the time, because I was trying to not lose bits of footage. So I actually captured my response. And what really astonished me was the words that came out of my mouth were, "Are you kidding me?" Whereas actually, what was really going through my mind and what went through my mouth repeatedly sometime later was, I'll bleep that out of the recording. And that came out of my mind. But actually, there's nothing wrong with that. Expelling the anger, the grump, the harumph. Use it, shape it. If we don't expel it, if we don't direct it in a way that's okay, it will come out somewhere else. It will come out. My poor husband, I say my poor husband, he does not get it in the neck, actually, but our poor husband, dog, friend, inanimate, can't say it, inanimate object could get it in the neck because it shifts our entire being into a grumpy, harumphy, angry, frustrated self. So, for those watching the recording, you'll have to do this on your own. For those in the Zoom room, I would like to invite you, because it's always an invitation, to give me your most grumpy, frustrated, angry, harumphy faces, movements, whatever. Right now. Grump, harumph, do it. Oh, I so wish I was recording this in gallery view. It would be good. Now, the joy of that is not only do you feel into it and expel it, but what has happened in the Zoom room is laughter as well. Laughter. And we can't. I actually had an issue with the weather forecast myself. My husband and I had an entire conversation lying in bed this morning about the 3 different weather forecasts that we had on 3 different apps because we were deciding whether or not it was possible to go for the walk that we wanted to go through. Actually, I was too tired. I was too floppy, jangly, yucky. We all have our own words for these things. And I felt a guilt for not going out, and I was relieved by the rain. Why do we do that to ourselves? But the frustration of seeing the misinformation, does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Does it matter to our energy levels? Yes. Can we control that? Not really. We can do all the things we try and do. And yes, we can work on that self-compassion. And yes, we can work on that self-care. There's a bigger thing here. There's an underlying loss and grief in amongst all of this, isn't there? Because the person without the health challenges doesn't have to plan in the spoons, doesn't have to plan in the energy, doesn't have to feel like I've done this, whether it's supporting people that I'm trying to hide from or it's sorting the washing and then it pours down. The people without those restrictions in energy don't have to worry because Of course, they have to worry. They have to worry in different ways, but it's not the same, because when we expend the energy is gone. It's gone. It's been spent. It's like having an empty bank account. You can no longer, you bought that dress. You cannot buy the second dress because there's no money left. It's the same thing. The energy is gone. But allowing the harumph doesn't fix it, but it helps. Shake off your harumph. Because that's the other thing. You've got to allow the harumph, the anger, the frustration. You've got to shake it off as well. Get rid of it. Does it get rid of it? No, but you can harumph again and shake it off again. And then come back to the underlying story, the compassion, the care, and the planning for what we might do to manage it. Because we're never going to fix things, but we can manage it. Okay, that was a very long, wordy thing. So I'm going to speak to the people in the Zoom room and see how harumphy and shaken off they feel at this point. Okay, just nipping back from the Zoom room. I'm going to go back because we haven't finished. But two things came up. One was the letting things out, and the other was acceptance. So recognition in the Zoom room of how the letting things out can be helpful. And that doesn't mean getting angry with other people, but finding a way to expel, because it comes out anyway. It will come out anyway. So finding a way to expel, allowing the harumph, and how important that is. And then the other thing that came up was the acceptance. So this is particularly in relation to jangly, yucky, floppy, whatever your word is. So we all have different words for that. Mine's floppy. When I say floppy, it means I'm, the corner of the sofa is my friend. And that's going to be like that for some time. And acceptance, it takes a while to learn the pattern of our health challenges, and the pattern is unpredictable, but there are some patterns that emerge and kind of stick. And one is, if I'll describe mine, because yours will be individual to you, when I have this cloud of fatigue, and I don't know how long it'll last, and it might be the rest of that day, or it could be a few days, but I know that I can't fight it. There's nothing I can do to flip out of it. If there was an emergency, I'd be able to find the reserves, but I'm talking about general life and being in a situation where I can accept it and, if I can borrow the words from the Zoom room, fluffy pillow it. Cushions, blankets, drinks aplenty, laptop, phone, book, everything in reach, telly buttons, all of it in reach. Accept it, embrace it, self-care it. Yeah. So it's one aspect of what we were talking about. It's not quite the same as when the washing's soaked and it's standing in, it's outside on its own, but still we go through those processes. I'll pop back into the Zoom room. I'll be back in a second. So we can have mixed states. So for those of us, we keep pulling in little bits of polyvagal stuff here. So just for a quick mini recap for anyone who's not been on Befriending Me or doesn't know what on earth I'm talking about, thinking of three states. One is ventral vagal. That's all things are good, safe and connected. Energy is good, relatively. I mean, good for us. The next state is sympathetic, overdrive, go, fight and flight. And then the bottom state is dorsal vagal, shut down, freeze, whatever. So the problem or the insight into what we were just talking about in the Zoom room is in a mixed state, when actually when you're in shutdown and freeze, you're actually in an excess of sympathetic as well as in parasympathetic shutdown. So if you have the two going on at once, you can't just, oh, I know, I'll rest, it'll all be all right, because you're too wired for it. So shaking it off, tapping it off, movement, sometimes the movement is needed, not to get you out of the state and be back to being okay, but to get you out of that unsettled bit in order to rest. So the problem is the map isn't straightforward, right? We are not straightforward. And that's why if you read 10 ways to improve your chronic health challenge, right? It's great. And I think I mentioned this on Thursday, an Instagram post. It's great. It's great. But it depends. It depends. It depends on you, the way it presents in you, what has happened before, what your energy levels were, if you've actually got that sympathetic overdrive going on at the same time. And sometimes rest is the answer. Sometimes movement is the answer, and they can look very different. How do we manage that? We get to know ourselves. We get to know our own nervous systems. We get to befriend them. And it's a slow process of understanding self and making friends with what's going on in our own bodies. It takes time, which is also frustrating. It takes time and it takes discussion, because if I go along with one model in my head, one idea in my head, and I go along, and it's just like, well, it's not working. This isn't working. I've tried that. It doesn't work. And it's because we haven't got enough depth of understanding of what's going on with us. So learning even that simple bit, that one bit that actually, when I'm exhausted, but I'm really harumphy, I've got more than one thing going on. And just resting won't be enough. I need to harumph, then rest. That's the new phrase. That's the new tagline. Harumph, then rest. Okay, pause. Slight recap from my rant. And it wasn't really a rant. Don't shout at the Zoom room or anything. Don't be afraid if you've never been before. But our bodies sometimes take us out. If we're not listening, if we don't respond to the cues and the signals, and almost everybody on a persistent health challenge journey will have a kind of date of when it began. And then if we look at it, it actually began a lot earlier than that. A lot earlier. And we explained it away, or we gave it different names, or we thought the world was like that. We didn't think it was a health problem. And we weren't listening. We weren't paying attention. We weren't responding to the cues that we were being given. And so the body, just got on with it. Just got on with it. I can remember working and getting, like, crawling to some time off and getting myself and my kids to the caravan and having 2 weeks holiday in the summer. And I think the first 10 days I sort of sat and stared at the wall because I hadn't realized that there was that level of exhaustion, and I didn't consider myself to have any problems at that point. Whereas actually that was over exhaustion. But we are so in a society where the emphasis is on being driven forward, move, go, carry on. Yeah, we don't listen. Our body can take us out sometimes. Okay, it's already 1:45. We were finishing early recently, but we're going to have a guided meditation anyway. And we're not even going to explore Dispassion further. We might come back to that another week. So, a guided meditation practice. Please find a position that is comfortable for you today. And an invitation here through this practice is to notice with awareness what your body is telling you, what your body is saying, what each part of your body is trying to whisper. And whatever it is, saying yes and accepting that. If it's pain, discomfort, or something unpleasant, saying yes and accepting that doesn't mean you want it to stay like that, but it acknowledges it. and then it allows you to do something with it. Taking awareness to the breath, inhaling, expanding with acceptance, and exhaling, saying yes to whatever is there. And taking awareness to the feet and noticing each individual toe, the sole of the foot and the top of the foot, right up to the ankle. You might even make some tiny movements of the toes and the feet. And then notice what is there. Notice what your feet are telling you. Yes, I see you. Yes, I feel you. Yes, I hear you. Yes, I am you. Accepting whatever is there. Inhaling with acceptance and exhaling, saying yes, yes to what is there. Moving awareness from the feet through the ankles to the legs. Noticing the calves and the shins, the front of the knee, the back of the knee, inside the knee. Strong muscles and bone in the thigh, right up to the hip joint. Being sure to notice both legs, not just one. And perhaps taking some tiny movements in the legs, increasing your awareness. What is there? What are your legs telling you? What sensations lie there? Inhaling with acceptance. And exhaling, saying yes to whatever is there. Then moving your awareness to the fingertips. Each finger, each thumb, palm of the hand and the back of the hand, right up to each wrist. Perhaps taking some tiny movements of the hands. Opening your awareness to whatever your hands are telling you, whatever sensations are resting there. Inhaling with acceptance. Exhaling. Saying yes to whatever is there. Moving awareness up into the arms, so through the wrists, into the forearms. Noticing the bones inside, the muscles, the skin. Up through the elbows and into the upper arms, right up to the shoulder. Making tiny movements in each arm to hone in your attention, your awareness. Inhaling. Acceptance. Exhaling. Saying yes to whatever is there. Moving awareness to the belly and the pelvis, sensing into the bony structures of the pelvis and the spine, the back, the muscles covering the lower body, and inside the belly and the pelvis, the organs. Awareness of what sensations are arising there, what your belly and pelvis are telling you. Breathing in with acceptance and breathing out, saying yes to whatever is there. Letting that awareness move up into the chest, the rib cage, like a basket covered in muscles, and within the lungs, and deep within the heart space. Noticing whatever sensations arise there. Maybe taking some tiny movements of the body so that the sensations are increased a little. Your awareness is better tuned in. Breathing in with acceptance. Breathing out, saying yes to whatever is there. Moving awareness up through the neck and into the head. The bony skull, hair, the forehead, the cheeks, the tip of the nose, the jaw, the eyes. Perhaps taking some tiny movements of the muscles in the face, increasing your awareness. Breathing in with acceptance. Breathing out, saying yes to whatever is there. And then sensing the whole body, holding the whole body in awareness, yourself as a whole body. Noticing where your attention is most drawn. And breathing in with acceptance. Breathing out, saying yes to whatever is there. Resting your awareness there just for a little while. Perhaps taking the intention into your day to accept what is there. Notice with awareness, accept and say yes. Allowing the harumphs, allowing the expression, allowing yourself to be how you are. Taking any movements you need, perhaps a stretch, perhaps a wiggle, perhaps a shimmy. And gently as you're ready, coming back to where we began. We're almost up to the hour, and so I'm going to stop the recording and check in with the people in the Zoom room. Thank you for joining us.